What is up, everybody? Welcome to more coverage of the TNT Championship 2022 Season 1. I'm Delphius. How's it going, everybody? I'm doing well. Today we are looking at round of 8 matches in the Premier League. These are going to be best of 7 games. And if you're mostly just watching my Twitch or YouTube channel, kind of wondering what's going on with this tournament, there are a lot of casters covering this event. So I'd highly recommend, if you aren't already, checking out the TNT Championship Discord. There's a link to that in the Tooth and Tail events section under the Twitch channel right here. I'll also put a link to that in the YouTube VOD. And there you can find all the coverage. Every game has been cast. We've done a really good job this season. Lots of people have been excited to cast and step up and try that out. So yeah, everything's been casted, and I'd highly recommend checking that out if you haven't already, to kind of stay up to date with what's going on in the tournament. There's also a lot of really good graphics. I mean, everybody behind the scenes are just doing a fantastic job this season. So I figured I'd start things off looking at a couple of these graphics, and we'll hop right into these games. So we've got Marmu versus Melvinfro coming up first. Marmu was able to come out of his group in first place. He beat Big Pimpatosh 3-1, and then in the winners match beat Meek 3-2, and advance on in first place of his group from Group B. And then from Group D, Melvinfro lost the floor in the first game, beat Nightslayer in the losers match, and then beat Floor in that final match to advance out in second place. And so on our round of 8 here, now it's just a single elimination. Best of 7 style up until the finals and third place match. So we've got Marmu versus Melvinfro here in that bottom left corner. And yeah, that's where we're going to kick it off. So glad to see everybody. I've been trying to do Sunday casts. Last week I was a little bit busy and couldn't make it. So I'm excited. Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to casting these games. We've got some really good ones here today. So let's get things started on Melvinfro versus Marmu. Game number 1 here. Spawning in the bottom left, Rockin' Archimedes, we got Melvinfro. And over in the top right as Hopper, Marmu. Chameleons from both sides. I'd expect that. I'm not as familiar with other people on this patch, but honestly, I feel like the balance has been pretty wide open. I think things like Squirrels, Chameleons, Mines are performing pretty well, but overall it seems like a lot of different strategies are viable. I think the Boar rushes have been working fairly well this patch, since the Snake is still good in its own way, but it's not quite as much of an auto-include unit as it was in the previous patch, so now, you actually have to think about if you want to include that Snake or not to counter things like a Boar or a Badger. 6 farm from Melvin. Actually, it might have been a 5 farm. I wasn't paying super close attention. Yeah, it looks like a 5 farm from Melvin that got responded to by a 6 farm from Marmu, but overall, in the early game, it won't matter too much. It even looks like the players are blocking their Warrens for additional farm production. So going to be no harm, no foul here. Map looks fine for both players. Marmu's second base is pretty reasonable. Ooh, Melvinfro, keeping an eye. I like to sell, by the way, just to get some extra money for that additional Warren. You don't really need the units right now. So yeah, Marmu's second base is pretty reasonable. Meanwhile, Melvinfro's got a nice second and third. Getting into a third base will be a little bit difficult here for Marmu, but at the same time, I mean, maybe if Marmu takes over this kind of area, throws down a balloon, that could be very difficult for Melvin to deal with. So I'm curious how these players want to go about it, if we're going to try for some big one base aggression, or if we're just going to kind of gentleman's agreement, get up to that second base, farm it up, and start getting into the tech of probably Cam Falcon into the tier 3 of choice. The Fox is going to be pretty nice here. I think ooh, here we go, though. This could be huge. Melvinfro not in the right position, although the Squirrels were in a decent spot to handle this, so only losing one farm there. That could have been a lot worse. Good job from Melvin to put his units in the right place. I was just worried when he went out scouting, because a lot of times that's how the lizards will get you, right? Right when you leave to go scout, they come in and get all that bacon. So Marmu's still going to be looking for some bobbing and weaving here with these lizards. Might be able to come in here. I doubt he's going to commit, though, yeah. So he's just going to back it up. Gets into the chameleons. Did Melvin scout that? he has not just yet. So Melvin mostly trying to macro. And again, I think players are still pretty even on these spots. You know, it's funny you say that, Sasha. Sasha predicting in the chat Melvin's going to win this really hard. And most of the time I'd agree with you, but, I mean, I don't know. Marmu's looking pretty good this season. He did get out of his group in first place. So I'm curious if Marmu will be able to pull this off. But yeah, I do agree. I think generally Melvin's favored, but since Marmu did perform so well in the group stage, I'm a little hesitant, you know. So we got that boar on the way. This is very important for Melvin to scout. Doesn't have the snakes, but he could decide to get into a fox or even falcons to deal with that. Melvin really needs to scout this boar, though, and I think he might be a little bit worried about lizards running by. And hasn't scouted it yet, so really that's the big thing going on at the moment. Did Marmu try to build some moles there? I don't think so. Maybe he might have. But if this boar goes unscouted, this is going to be very sudden for Marmu. Marmu even setting up some moles over here. Good game sense from Melvinfro, though. Going to see those. Marmu needs to sell those immediately, or that's a lot of food down the dumps for free. And it looks like the mole gambit here from Marmu, this dirty play, is not going to work. And that is a lot of free food down the drain. So does that make Marmu rethink the decision to push out with this boar? Because generally, when you get the boar, you want to move out with it immediately. But, I mean, after losing that much food for nothing, I don't know, maybe Marmu would be better off just kind of chilling and macroing up. I mean, Melvin's in a really good spot this game now. Even able to get fully up to the 16 farm economy. Now he's probably going to come in and scout the boar. A little bit too late to respond to it. But again, I'm curious if Marmu's even going to bother moving out with this boar. This is a really tough spot for Marmu. I think he would have been in great shape with this boar push if he didn't hemorrhage off all those moles. But hey, I mean, sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. I liked what Marmu was trying there, but I mean that's why it's called a risk, right? It doesn't always play out. And really good game sense from Melvin to scout up there. He must have seen Marmu's commander moving in this area, because there's literally no reason for Melvin to ever come up here. So yeah, just as I figured, Marmu is not going to move out with this boar. Instead, he's just going to try to take a little bit of time, lick his wounds, you know, let that food differential slowly dissipate over time as more and more income is generated. So Marmu, again, still trying to move up with these moles over here. A little bit worried now that Melvin has flying units. Yeah, the flying units give him vision on these warrens, but does Melvin actually see it? He does see it. This is so bad for Marmu again. And Marmu's just going to rally the moles, but he is kind of distracting the units, but Melvin understands what Marmu's trying to pull off here. I think strategically this was smart for Marmu, but tactically it just didn't get pulled off right. And I wonder if Marmu, unfortunately, is just going to tap out here. I mean, his army just got decimated. Maybe you hang on. I mean, it is a round of 8 tournament match, right? So it ain't over till the fat lady sings. But I hear some notes humming. So let's see. Going to go into a lot of falcons to try to counter the tier 2 and maybe just hunker down. But Melvin's got a great opportunity to move out right here, right now. I think the falcons were too slow. I think Marmu probably needed to just invest all that money into lizards to get units right here, right now. These falcons are not going to be ready. And here comes Melvinfro. This should be the game. And yeah, I mean, the Marmu mole gambit did not work out. He's going to try to base race with these lizards, but doesn't have enough. He is slowing down Melvin's attack, which is nice, and Melvin hasn't dealt any economic damage yet, but falcons are not going to be ready in time. Marmu knows it. Melvin knows it. I know it. You know it. GG. Melvin starts things off 1-0. Okay. Game number 2. Let's get into it. Spawning on the right side, we got Melvinfro, same deck, and up top, Marmu, same deck as well. Interesting map. I guess it's Marmu favored here. I mean, this high ground, this is actually pretty Marmu favored in my opinion, because the second base is nice, especially with the balloon. I'd love to see a balloon get out like right here. It's going to be really hard for Melvin to actually come in and attack this way because of this choke point here, because of the ramping on this high ground. You got to go all the way around this well and that little shed to get in. So imagine Marmu's units are just up top, you know, shelling down the whole time. Melvinfro does have a second base, but it is a little bit awkward. However, I mean, to be fair, maybe Melvin, if he really gets established over here, it wouldn't quite be so bad, because then the attack path is now like that into the base. You know, interestingly, the longer this game goes, the better and better the map's going to get for Melvin, right? Like, thinking about this from a little bit more of a high-level perspective. I think up front, like, I think in the 1-2 base phase of the game, I like Marmu's map positioning better, but if the game drags out beyond that, Melvin's going to have a huge advantage with essentially all the rest of the gristmills on his side of the map. So if you're Marmu here, you gotta be thinking about that and realizing, okay, you know, 1-2 base play is the move here, and Marmu does have the boar, and that's generally what the boar wants to go for anyways. So let's see if Marmu can pull it off. Meanwhile, though, Melvin does have a decent deck to scale up and prevent that kind of stuff. I guess there was a small change here. Marmu did drop the lizards for squirrels this time around. Interestingly, Melvin's starting off with some falcons. That's normally not the first tier 2 choice. Maybe that is the kind of try to help leverage. Oh, this could be super painful for Marmu if Melvin gets some good falcons right around here and just kind of guns down at the pigs. But generally, I think, you know, in the early game, like 9 squirrels and cams versus like 9 squirrels and falcons. I think the cams generally win that engagement, although that does sound a little counterintuitive. It's because the chameleons will just wipe out all the tier 1 and then let the squirrels mow down the falcons. Marmu trying to fake out with the expansion, but Melvinfro is not being greedy at all. Still just kind of teching up. I mean, maybe you could argue he's being greedy in the fact that he's building a lot of tier 2, but here comes that 1 base push from Marmu. But again, Melvin's already getting some falcons out. I think 4 falcons is really the magic number to have against the boar. Doesn't see the boar there. Maybe 2 is good enough. He's got to know Marmu's up to no good, and he also knows that Marmu used the boar last game, so you don't see an expansion. You know, you don't see him really moving out. Melvin's actually just going to try to come in here. Marmu's got a lot of squirrels on some cams. He should be able to fend off against this. 1 more and already goes down. A balloon getting thrown down as well, but not really in a spot that's going to be super helpful at the moment. Lots of good skunk gas coming in, and Melvin is starting to strike. Really leveraging the fact that that Marmu's going into the boar. And you know what? I think one reason that this attack is doing so well is because of the lack of cams. I mean, generally it's hard for cams to attack into positions like this, but with the skunk gas kind of getting everything set up, with the falcons being able to DPS from a safe spot, is actually working quite nicely for Melvin, and he's already got a ton of damage down onto Marmu's base. Marmu's pretty much taking critical damage at this point. I mean, the boar is on the way, but will it be enough to straight up turn this around and win the game? I mean, Marmu's got to delete this army, and he's got to go home and return the favor as far as the amount of damage done. And good job for Melvin, too. His micro and his control in this attack has been very top-notch. Also doing a good job of trying to avoid that balloon as much as possible. Marmu going to try to clean all this up. Really doesn't want to lose the boar. Yeah, 1 falcon even is plenty to DPS this boar down, and it is going to die. And I think that's the nail in the coffin for Marmu. I think Marmu really had to be able to push that boar all the way back to Melvin's base to win this game. You know, the economic damage has already been done. So yeah, that's interesting. You know, when I was practicing on this patch, I was having a hard time breaking like tier 1. 1 base like boar rushes, right? But I think it was the tier 2. You know, because I would try to come in with cams, but the skunk falcon was much better there to be very aggressive. Again, the skunks with all that gas to really zone Marmu to get the free damage. The pigeons to help heal on the front line. The falcons to deal some safe damage from the back. That composition was very well suited for a nice quick attack like that, and Melvin had the micro to pull it off. So that's a 2-0 lead for Melvin. Marmu needs to start making his comeback now, or maybe Sasha in the chat was right. It could be a 4-0 for Melvin. Let's see. Hopping into game number 3 here. Spawning on the left side, we have Melvinfro, and over on the right, Marmu. Marmu grabbing the mines this time around. Dropping the balloon. I do like that adjustment. I think mines are pretty strong at the moment, especially if you're trying to be aggressive. Map looks fine, I think. Without really splitting hairs, you know. Both players can get into a second base, into a third base. It's a little more nice and neat for Melvin. You know, this is I mean, nobody's ever going to argue about this kind of spawn in Tooth and Tail. But still, Marmu's position is not bad either. 2 bases right next to each other. A nice little choke here to defend with. Some high ground here to defend. Not the best map for lizards to run around and try to make lizard wizard magic happen. You can maybe come all the way around the back like this. There are a couple of ways if Marmu was really being sneaky. But generally a pretty small map, not super open. So not the best in the world for the lizards. But I wonder how Marmu's going to adjust here. And I don't know, maybe Marmu's getting a little bit tilted. Oh, well, this could work. That mole is going to be out before that squirrel is. So, forces the cell on the Warren. But, you know, really not a whole lot. And this could be bad for Marmu. The Chameleon... I mean, Melvin's already got 3 tier 1s cooking. He sees this tier 2 go down. I mean, Melvin's just got to move across the map. And this cabin is going to slow him down a little bit, but... Okay, never mind. Melvin decides to go into tier 2 of his own. Decides, you know, if my opponent's going to be greedy, I can be greedy too. But I feel like there is a window there. Melvin, with the 9 squirrels, maybe could have gone across, but decides against it. Quick falcons again for Melvin. They seem to really be helping him attack in. I also like the pigeons too. I think that's great. Because squirrels do pretty nicely this patch. You don't really need to do the double tier 1. You know, as far as like squirrel lizard, squirrel toad. I mean, you can. I feel like all the tier 1 right now are actually pretty good. Toads are good. Maybe lizards, in a weird way, are the weakest ones at the moment, but it's hard to ever call lizards weak just because the utility that they get based on their unit design and their swiftness. You can always kind of esports on your opponent with lizards. So you always kind of have to consider that in the mix. But maybe actually the reason lizards feel a bit underwhelming this patch is because of the prevalence of the chameleons, which typically do quite nicely against lizards. So big tier 2 war at the moment. Marmu is going to be the first one to grab that second base. And we're just going to let this one cook for a little bit while longer. Again, everybody, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're curious, like, where the hell are all the other games this tournament? There's a whole Discord, TNT Championship Discord, in the link below. And the organizers have been doing a really good job archiving all the VODs that the casters have done this season. Lots of casters this event, so there are tons of matches all over a variety of channels everywhere. And that Discord is going to be your hub to find them all, if you're hankering for some more Tooth and Tail content. Melvin moving out again with this army comp. He does have the cams this time around, but I think generally the core is pretty similar. Lots of skunk, falcon, and pigeons. This time around, though, Marmu hasn't invested a lot of money into that boar warren, so Marmu's army is going to be able to fight back a lot more effectively. However, Melvin still clearing for the most part. Marmu going to have to back up into his warrens. Just a really strong comp out of Melvin here. And I like this too. Takes that good fight, goes home, doesn't overstay his welcome, re-rallies, and now Melvin's got the decision, okay, do I push in again or do I expand? Maybe a mix of both. Good positioning on the army, is aware of the lizards. Melvin with a deep scout right now, though, as Marmu's moving out. Marmu with just a ton of lizards at the moment. Maybe looking for a backstab here. Melvin's starting to get ahead in economy. So this is looking pretty grim for Marmu. He's behind an army. He's behind an economy. He needs a big fight here to even things out. But again, it's tough to commit to that as Marmu, right? Because if it doesn't work, then that's pretty much game. I think Marmu's got one more solid punch in him right now. And he's got if he's going to do it, he's got to do it, right? Because the longer he waits, if the second base gets up and running for Melvin, then that window is going to close. So Marmu's just going to decide against it. I don't know, maybe sell down a couple of units and try to catch up on farms? Or is he just going to go for it here? This is going to be a hard attack. This is such a hard decision for Marmu. Because you never, I mean, sometimes when you just have this much tier 1, it just kind of works. But, I don't know. He's going to go in and try it. And just gets absolutely crushed here. Again, just a better composition from Melvin. And I kind of love to see it, to be honest. That's the way it should work in an RTS game, you know? Like, when you have that composition diversity. I mean, Melvin was really utilizing, I mean, almost every unit in his deck, in his composition. So having that versatility in your composition should, in most cases, beat just, you know, a composition that's mostly one unit, just from a high-level RTS theory perspective. So, okay, game number 4, this is it. Can Marmu start the reverse sweep, or is Melvin gonna 4-0 his way into the semifinals here? In the bottom, we've got Marmu, and up top, Melvinfro. Okay, let's take a quick look at this map. Again, a really nice spawn for Melvin. Can't really argue with this. Nice, easy second base. Nice one area to defend. Third base is reasonable. Really, really clunky map gen for Marmu, unfortunately for him. I mean, I guess actually going this way to the back's not so bad. It is kind of cool that Marmu really only has one area to focus in on, since these are mostly pocket bases back here. But as you can see from the way that Melvin's scouting right now, there is a sneaky backdoor way to get there. Marmu again with the moles, and Melvin scouting it out immediately yet again. So Marmu really just not having any luck with these mole plays. Marmu can get over here in time to sell this off, though, and not really take much damage off that. So Marmu, yeah, does have these nice pocket bases in the back. A little bit of awkward ramping, but really it's not too bad getting back here. Wants to clear off this cabin, probably. And again, there is the back doorway. I do kind of like how there are a few... Melvin's base doesn't feel as backdoory, because realistically Marmu would have to go like this way. Because there's no ramp here, right? So I guess Marmu could really sneak everything out that way, but that seems ridiculous. So for the most part, one attack path for both sides, and Melvin does have the option to run around into those pockets. Yeah, some early cams from Marmu here. Nothing crazy yet. Falcons, or no, actually Skunks from Melvin. Skunks have got a little bit of a bad rap this patch, but Melvin seemed to be utilizing them pretty well. At least in these games here. We're gonna both sides just kind of getting into double 2 right now, skimping up on tier 1. Marmu getting that expansion going. Let's see if Melvin. I think the most interesting decision here coming up in this game is if Melvin's gonna take that second base or not. Marmu actually sold off his second base. Ooh, Marmu with the fox this time around. Let's go. Nice sneaky fox spot. Oh my god, Melvin with the map hacks, dude. Look at this. If he scouts that fox, I swear. Okay. Alright. Oh, cool cam moves from Marmu here. Oh, I'm so excited for this Fox. I think the Fox is going to be really good against what Melvin's putting together, but Melvin might actually see it over the ledge. He does see it! Okay. So what do you do if you're Melvin? Sell off your Falcons, get your own Fox, maybe? Oh, man. I like the idea for Marmu here, but really, these cams, it's so... Okay, I don't think Melvin really knows the cams are there, so he's not going to stop for, Oh, Melvin's just going to try to come destroy the Warren. And it's super awkward for Marmu to even try to defend this. Oh my god. Marmu trying to be sneaky on Melvin. It seems to be the theme of this set. You know, Marmu trying to do these really cool tactical moves, like some big mole all-ins, or moving the cams around, or that Fox Warren that's in a weird spot. But, you know, Melvin's such a good player. Not falling for any of that shenaniganery. And again, we find ourselves in this position that we've seen so often this series, where Melvin's starting to siege in with these skunks and with the Falcons and a couple pigeons of support. And I mean, look at this, you know, already killing off a few pigs with these skunks without even engaging Marmu's army. I mean, this is already the damage that Melvin needs to win the game. It's like he's already gotten his food before he placed his order and paid for it, you know? Like, this fight doesn't even matter anymore. Like, Melvin already accomplished the goal. Marmu really needs to wipe this entire army to be able to come back in this position. And I think that's just going to be it. It's just straightforward from here. I mean, good scouting from Melvin. You know, finding that tier 3 Warren. Marmu not able to defend it. Again, that ramping was awkward to try to get back there, but Marmu should have considered that, I guess, when he was placing that hidden Warren. So that's going to be it. Melvinfro going to advance into the semifinals 4-0.